Welcome to our exploration of Mata Hari, one of the most intriguing and infamous figures in history. She is widely known as a seductive spy during World War I. Our aim is to uncover the mystery behind her character and question whether she was really guilty of espionage charges or simply a scapegoat during a politically turbulent time. Let's begin with an overview of Mata Hari's early life. Early life. Margaretha Geertruida Zell, later known as Mata Hari, was born on August 7, 1876, in Leeuwarden, as the eldest child of Antje and Adam Zell. She grew up in luxury on one of the poshest streets of Leeuwarden with her parents and three brothers. Her father owned a successful hat and cap business and they lived a wealthy life. Unfortunately, their success did not last, and when her father could no longer afford their expensive lifestyle, he was declared bankrupt and moved to his brother's house in The Hague. Margaretha, then 12 years old, stayed behind with her mother and brothers in a cramped apartment in Leeuwarden. This led to a legal separation between her parents. As a young girl, Margaretha played the piano, took dance lessons, and was learning French at her elite school. However, her obedience and good behavior were not her strong points, as her school report shows. Unfortunately, Margaretha did not complete her education, her grades went downhill, and after her mother died from tuberculosis at the age of 49, she left school at the age of 14. She ended up with her uncle and aunt, who sent her to a teacher training college in Leiden at the age of 15. This school experience was short-lived, as she was suspended after only 1 year. Rumors circulated that she had been caught in an inappropriate relationship with the school's principal. When she was 18, Margaretha saw a contact ad that read, "An officer on leave from the Dutch East Indies is looking for a wife." She lives with her aunt in The Hague and is not afraid of adventure, so she decided to respond. On a rainy Sunday in March, she met Rudolph MacLeod, who was known as John. He was a 39-year-old professional soldier of noble descent who was temporarily on sick leave from the Royal Dutch East Indies Army. They didn't waste time and 6 days later, they were engaged. On July 11, 1895, they married in Amsterdam. Next, we will take a closer look at how Margaretha Geertruida Zell transformed into Mata Hari. Transformation into Mata Hari. On May 1, 1897, family left for the Dutch East Indies. John was a prominent officer, and they took up residence in a large house with servants. At the age of 20, Margaretha became the mother of two children, Norman John and Louise Jean, also known as Nonna. Unfortunately, their marriage was far from a fairy tale. John was a hot-tempered man who was used to giving orders and was alcoholic, unfaithful, and constantly in debt. Margaretha, on the other hand, had a fiery temper and liked to flirt, which often angered her husband. The social life of a high-ranking military officer's spouse is going well for Margaretha. She accompanies her husband, John, to dinners, parties, and dances, where she feels more at ease than at home, as a mother. She is eloquent, lively, and theatrical, and has her own aspirations. For example, she stars in the leading role of a musical that receives positive reviews. When John retires from the military, the family relocates to a remote village. Margaretha becomes deeply unhappy, and their marriage is on the brink of collapse. John is bitter and ambitious, publicly belittling Margaretha, accusing her of being foolish and superficial. In the early summer of 1899, their children suddenly fall ill. A doctor from the army arrives to help, but it's too late. Norman, aged 2.5, dies under mysterious circumstances, and Nonnie, only a year old, survives by a narrow margin. John and Margaretha are devastated. 1.5 years after moving, they had had enough. On March 19, 1902, the MacLeods boarded the boat and returned to the Netherlands. Shortly after returning to their home country, John and Margaretha got divorced on August 30, 1902. Margaretha was given custody of the daughter Nonnie, but John refused to pay alimony. Margaretha found it difficult to provide for herself as a single mother, but she couldn't go back to John as he was crazy and abusive. She was forced to give her 4-year-old child to John and ended up on the streets without money at the age of 26. Her lawyer and the court couldn't help her because it was impossible to seize John's pension as he had served in the Dutch East Indies. In a letter written in November 1903, Margaret said that out of passion and madness, John had almost killed her with a bread knife one Sunday afternoon. She owed her life to a falling chair, which gave her time to find the door and seek help. Margaret once again asks John's cousin Edward for help in regaining custody of her daughter, after previous unsuccessful attempts. She warns that if this doesn't work, she won't try anymore to be a good person. This is her final attempt, she says. If John doesn't fulfill his duties, he shouldn't be surprised if her name is tarnished by her decision to become a model. I'm exhausted from fighting against life, and I want one of two things: Nonny to be with me and for me to be a good mother, or for my life to continue as it is now. In 1903, Margaretha left for Paris for the first time, seeking a new life away from her painful past, hoping to earn a living there in an honorable way so that she could bring Nonny back home. She was looking for work as a companion, model, and giving piano lessons and German conversation classes. However, her life in Paris was difficult and she returned to the Netherlands in defeat. She was now desperate and without money, and was forced to resort to prostitution. Her family turned their backs on her, and in June 1904, she left Paris for good. In the subsequent section we'll explore how Margaretha Geertruida Zell managed her breakthrough as Mata Hari. A breakthrough in the role of Mata Hari. It was in Paris that she began to craft a new identity for herself, adopting the name Mata Hari. Margaretha created a sensational persona as an exotic dancer, drawing inspiration from the Javanese dances she had witnessed during her time in Indonesia. She claimed to be a Hindu princess, trained in the sacred arts of dance, weaving a web of mystique and allure around her performances. Her fabricated background only added to her appeal, and she quickly became a sensation in the Parisian entertainment scene. She creates sensual and exotic Indian temple dances that she performs with passion. The public loves her for her exoticism, mystery, and sensuality. On March 13, 1905, Margaretha had her breakthrough as Mata Hari. She performed under the stage name, Mata Hari, which means, Eye of the Day, in Malay. The performance took place at the Musée Guimet, and the entire Parisian elite was in attendance, making her an instant sensation. The newspapers were ecstatic about her performance, describing her dances as thrilling, daring, and completely new. Mata Hari was an enchanting woman, standing out with her remarkable height, incredible style, eloquence, and charm. Next, we will explore how Mata Hari gained her fame. Rise to fame. Soon, Mata Hari embarked on a triumphant tour of all the famous theatres in Europe, beginning her brilliant career. Within no time, there was no theatre in Europe that did not have Mata Hari perform. She graced the stages of renowned theatres such as the Scala in Milan, Olympia in Paris, and Opera of Monte Carlo, becoming a household name. A signature costume became a part of Mata Hari's image. She always wore a richly adorned hairstyle and a variety of exotic jewelry, combining a sparkling brassiere with translucent veils she wrapped around her body. Mata Hari's performances were provocative, blending eroticism with what was perceived as authentic Eastern dance. Her stage presence, combined with her beauty and the exoticism of her fabricated identity, propelled her to fame. During her heyday, Mata Hari earned 10,000 francs, approximately 37,000 euros today, for a performance. She was so popular that her name was used for cigarettes, liqueurs, and other products. In 1907, she became a short-lived millionaire but spent the money as soon as it came in. Mata Hari was the epitome of grace and elegance. Wherever she went, eyes were on her. She became a popular social figure, regularly appearing in magazines such as Vogue. Mata Hari always had lovers wherever she went. She liked to flirt, and suitors lined up for her. She preferred high-ranking officers and nobles. Despite her successful dancing career, these men financed her luxurious lifestyle from 1908 to 1912, along with the French banker Rousseau. Rousseau rented a castle for Margaretha, and later a villa, with carriage, horses, and staff. Another admirer gave her 300,000 Reichsmarks, approximately 900,000 euros, as a parting gift. Of course, her fame also drew the attention of influential men, which eventually led her into the dangerous world of espionage during World War I. In the next section, we will discuss the controversies surrounding Mata Hari. Fame and controversies. Mata Hari's public persona was deeply rooted in the Orientalist fantasies of early 20th century Europe. She cultivated an image of mystery and exoticism, claiming to be a Javanese princess trained in sacred dance rituals. This persona captivated the European elite, who were fascinated by what they perceived as the exotic East. Mata Hari's performances were sensual and provocative, embodying the Western fantasies of the Orient. Her mystique was a carefully crafted illusion, one that played into the colonialist attitudes of the time. Mata Hari quickly became a symbol of femininity and independence, embodying a liberated, modern woman who defied societal conventions. At a time when women were expected to conform to strict roles, Mata Hari stood out for her audacity and self-reinvention. She used her beauty and charm to gain financial independence and navigate the male-dominated world of early 20th century Europe. Her allure was not just physical but also rooted in her ability to control her narrative, making her both admired and envied. Mata Hari's rise to fame was not without controversy. Her performances were often criticized for being too erotic, and she was accused of blurring the lines between art and obscenity. The public was divided in their perception of her. Some viewed her as a groundbreaking artist and a symbol of female empowerment, while others saw her as nothing more than a courtesan exploiting her sexuality for fame and fortune. The controversies surrounding her only added to her allure, making her a subject of constant media attention and public speculation. Now, let's take a look at how the outbreak of World War I in 1914 dramatically changed Mata Hari's life. World War I and espionage allegations. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 drastically altered Mata Hari's life. The war brought an end to the carefree, glamorous lifestyle she had enjoyed in the years prior. The war also marked a shift in her relationships with powerful men, as many of her patrons were now involved in the military or diplomatic corps. Mata Hari's financial situation became precarious, pushing her to make risky decisions. Because the Netherlands was neutral, she was allowed to travel through Europe freely. However, when the war broke out, she was declared a citizen of France's enemy by the Germans and her bank assets were frozen. To her indignation, her belongings, including her fur coats, were confiscated by Germany. She left Germany to try her luck somewhere else. But wherever she went, she attracted unwanted attention from the German, British, and French intelligence services. She wants to return to Paris to revive her dancing career, but to no avail. So she decides to return to The Hague. However, she doesn't realize that wherever she goes, intelligence agencies are shadowing her. The British, French, and German intelligence services are all watching her. One evening in May 1916, Mata Hari receives a visit from German Consul Kremer in The Hague. He knows she's going to Paris and wants to recruit her as a spy. As a traveling artist, she's an ideal candidate for this role. Kremer offers her the position of Agent H21 and asks if she'd like to collect intelligence of all kinds. He offers her 20,000 francs, approximately 50,000 euros, which although she thinks is not enough, she accepts, with the intention of never actually doing anything for the money, but rather using it as payment for the stolen fur coats from the Germans in 1914. Once Mata Hari returned to Paris, she resumed her glamorous lifestyle. Not only were her many lovers eager to see her, but the French intelligence service was also keeping an eye on her. They had been shadowing her since the day after her arrival, all in the hopes of catching her engaging in pro-German activities. During the war, Mata Hari became romantically involved with several high-ranking military officers and diplomats from both the Allied and Central Powers. These relationships placed her in a precarious position, as she was exposed to sensitive military information. Her connections with influential men made her a subject of suspicion, as both sides of the conflict feared she could be leaking information to the enemy. Mata Hari's lifestyle and connections made her an easy target for espionage allegations. By 1916, Mata Hari was accused of being a double agent, working for both the French and the Germans. The Germans reportedly paid her to gather intelligence on the French, while the French believed she was using her relationships with German officers to pass information to them. When Mata Hari returns from Vittel, a luxurious spa located near the front lines, Captain Ladoux, the head of French intelligence, lays a trap. He convinces her that he wants to recruit her as a spy for the Belgian region. Mata Hari sees an opportunity and demands the main prize, 1 million francs, 2.5 million euros. She will receive further instructions in the Netherlands, Ladoux claims. Payment will follow when the mission is complete. Confident, Margaretha sets to work. The accusations of being a double agent were fueled by intercepted communications, including a German message that referred to a spy codenamed H21, which the French believed was Mata Hari. The truth of these allegations remains disputed, but they sealed her fate as a spy in the eyes of the French authorities. When Mata Hari was unable to complete her original mission in France, she decided to improvise in Madrid. She seduces Major Cal, a feared German, identifying herself as a German spy and passing him some harmless information. At the same time, she approaches French Colonel Denvine and informs him that she is a French agent. She shares what information she has learned from Cal and requests that he pass it on to the French intelligence agency. She also sends some letters to Ladew. Meanwhile, Cal sends several telegrams to the German intelligence agency, reporting what Agent H21 has told him and requesting guidance on her payment. These telegrams are intercepted and decoded by the French, who conclude that Agent H21 is Mata Hari without her knowledge. She has unknowingly been caught. As a French spy, Mata Hari does not take secrecy very seriously. From Madrid, she writes an unencrypted letter to Ladew via regular mail. She tricked Cal into thinking that a German submarine would land enemy officers in Morocco, which was French territory at the time. It has been speculated for a long time whether Mata Hari actually spied for France. This letter definitely proves that she did so. Suddenly, none of her contacts reply. The German major seemed to have lied to her in Madrid, and there is no one to confirm her story. Now Mata Hari becomes suspicious. She realizes she is being followed and wants to leave for the Netherlands as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Captain Ladew, the head of French intelligence, prepares the arrest warrant. 3 days later, on Tuesday morning, February 13, 1917, she is arrested on suspicion of spying for the German enemy. The evidence against her was largely circumstantial, relying on her association with various military figures and intercepted messages. The French authorities, eager to set an example, painted Mata Hari as a dangerous femme fatale who had betrayed her adopted country for money. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, her reputation and exotic persona worked against her, leading to her being portrayed as a manipulative and cunning spy. Next, we'll see how the French court-martial sentenced Mata Hari to death. Trial and execution. Mata Hari's trial took place in July 1917 and was highly publicized. She was charged with passing military secrets to Germany, which allegedly led to the deaths of tens of thousands of soldiers. The trial was conducted in secret, and the prosecution's case relied heavily on her lifestyle and relationships rather than hard evidence. It is May 21, 1917, and Mata Hari has been imprisoned in Paris for 3 months. Once an international star, she now finds herself locked up as a prostitute, much to her dismay. Despite her belief that she had been working as a spy for France, she has been accused of German espionage after 10 interrogations. Mentally broken, she decides to confess. Yes, she did take money from the Germans, and she was codenamed H21. But she never spied for Germany. Her work proves her loyalty to France. However, Captain Bouchardon, the tenacious chief investigator of the Council-Martial, is convinced of her guilt. During the First World War, the truth does not matter much. The troops are suffering, and France needs a public victory. Before the trial even begins, Mata Hari has already lost. On July 4, Mata Hari was officially charged with pro-German espionage activities. The French government, represented by Captain Bouchardon, summoned her to appear in court. They accused her of maintaining secret contact with the Germans, collecting intelligence, and sharing information with the enemy. Her suspicious travels and dubious contacts with high-ranking German officials were heavily blamed on her. Her defense argued that she was being scapegoated because of her reputation as a seductress and that she was not a spy. However, the political climate and the need for a scapegoat in a time of war left her defense with little chance of success. Bouchardon could not prove that she had actually provided the Germans with incriminating information, but it didn't matter. Under military law, maintaining contact with the enemy was considered equivalent to guilt. The French court-martial sentenced her to death. The 7 judges swiftly and ruthlessly ruled in her favor. Despite the lack of strong evidence, they found her guilty of all charges. Her accusers proudly referred to her as, arguably the greatest female spy of the century. Mata Hari was executed by a firing squad on October 15, 1917, at the age of 41. She reportedly faced her execution with great courage, refusing a blindfold and staring directly at her executioners. Her last words were rumored to be, "I am ready," though this has never been confirmed. Mata Hari's execution marked the end of a life that had been as much about myth as reality. Her death only added to the legend, turning her into a symbol of intrigue and the complexities of war, gender, and power. In the next section, we will explore the origins of a legend surrounding the death of Mata Hari. Aftermath and legacy. Mata Hari's execution was met with mixed reactions. While some saw her as a traitor who deserved her fate, others viewed her as a victim of wartime hysteria and a scapegoat. Her death made headlines across Europe, with newspapers sensationalizing her story, often focusing more on her exotic persona and alleged promiscuity than on the actual evidence against her. The media portrayed Mata Hari as the quintessential femme fatale, reinforcing stereotypes of the dangerous, seductive woman who uses her sexuality to manipulate men. This narrative overshadowed any objective analysis of her trial or the validity of the charges against her, cementing her image as a mysterious and seductive spy in the public imagination. With Mata Hari's death, a legend was born. Within 2 years, the first film about her life was released. Many more followed. From Greta Garbo's Mata Hari, 1931, to Jean Moreau's Mata Hari, Agent H21, 1964, the image of the cold-blooded spy, seductive femme fatale, and evil man-eater has an irresistible appeal in Hollywood. Mata Hari, a famous figure in history, is portrayed in television series, musicals, pop songs, ballads, and historical novels. Her name is also associated with perfumes, liqueurs, and cigarettes. The life of this fascinating woman has inspired many writers to create hundreds of books based on her life, although some of these works may be loosely based on reality. Despite her death, Mata Hari's fame continues to live on in various forms. She has become immortal in the hearts of many people, and her legacy continues to influence the world. Over time, Mata Hari's story has been mythologized, with many aspects of her life exaggerated or fabricated. She has become an archetype of the femme fatale in popular culture, symbolizing both the dangers and allure of female sexuality. This myth-making has contributed to her enduring legacy but has also obscured the real woman behind the legend. In the decades following her execution, historians and researchers have revisited the evidence against Mata Hari, with many concluding that the case against her was weak and that she was likely not the master spy she was accused of being. Some argue that she may have been guilty of minor indiscretions but not of the significant espionage activities that led to her execution. The re-evaluation of her trial has sparked debates about the fairness of her conviction and whether she was a victim of a biased legal system during wartime. Modern historians often view Mata Hari as a scapegoat, a woman whose life was exploited by the wartime propaganda machine. Her case has become a symbol of the dangers of stereotyping and the complexities of gender, power, and justice in times of conflict. The myth of Mata Hari may have overshadowed the real woman, but by examining her life in detail, we can gain a better understanding of the challenges she faced and the ways in which society constructs and perpetuates certain narratives. Her story is a reminder of the power of myth, but also of the importance of looking beyond the surface to uncover the truth. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of Mata Hari. We hope you found this exploration as fascinating and enlightening as we did. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might be interested in the incredible story of Mata Hari. See you in the next time.